Welcome to Good Grief Mama. I'm Allie, wife and mom of 3, and this is a podcast for honest conversations about motherhood and marriage and homeschooling and homemaking. So if you've ever wanted to do motherhood and marriage just a little differently, or if you've ever wondered, why is no one talking about this? Then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you're here. This episode is sponsored by Restore Your Core Physical Therapy. Hey mamas, whether you're pregnant, postpartum, or your kids are in college, your body deserves some TLC. The doctors at Restore Your Core Physical Therapy get it. From pelvic floor therapy and birth prep to fixing that back pain that you have let slide for way too long, they've got you covered. With locations in Carmel, West Carmel and Zionsville, and Greenwood, expert care is close by. Visit restoreyourcorept.com or call 317-597-6323. And make sure you mention the Good Grief Mama podcast to get $50 off a 90-minute evaluation or $25 off a 60-minute evaluation. You've been taking care of everyone else, and now it's your turn. All right, welcome back, Good Grief Mama listeners. So I have a question, and maybe I'm the only one, but lately I have felt this pull and suddenly want to do and want to live like a grandma. And I'm going to explain what that means. But it's like this strong pull to slow down, like a slower life. It's kind of like this might be a very niche group of people that would understand this reference nowadays, at least. But it's kind of like in the show Friends when Janice is talking with Chandler and she's like, it's like something in your soul calls out to me like a foghorn. And it's like that. Something in my soul is calling out to be a granny. Today, and actually the next couple of Mondays, I'm calling my Granny Ways series because I feel this very strong pull lately over the last few years towards quote unquote granny ways, like making my own bread, growing my own food, like learning how to can. And I would really love to learn how to sew, all that kind of stuff, and just like slowing everything down. And I know I'm not the only one. So that's what I'm starting today. The series called the Granny Ways series. Now, I feel like it is not just hobbies that I'm talking about right now. It's not just making my own bread. It's not just the things that I just mentioned, right? I feel like it's more than just, oh, I just really want to learn hobbies that are considered maybe granny hobbies now. It's more so like it's deeper. It's more like a pull towards a slower rhythm, a slower pace, more control over my life, over what's in our food, over who's in our life and how we're living our lives instead of our lives controlling us. It's more meaning in the things that we do and doing things that have meaning for us rather than just doing things because you have to do them. And I feel like there's probably a lot of things that are causing it, but one thing I think is just, and again, this is not just me, there's just rampant burnout of our fast paced life. We live in the US, especially, a very fast paced life. And I've seen it from people I know who've traveled overseas. It's just not like that everywhere else. And I pulled up some stats because I am very interested always about, statistics and learning more about things. But as far as our fast paced life in America, I found studies that said 49% of Americans report feeling daily stress, which is one of the highest rates among high income countries. 49%. That's ridiculous. And then there was another thing that said 75% of Americans experience physical and emotional symptoms related to stress. And then 6 Americans say that they feel stressed every single day, specifically because of news, social media, and constant information overload, which I 100% agree with. We're overstimulated just in general. Yes, as a mom, I feel like I get overstimulated pretty easy right now with sounds and noises and toys everywhere and all the things. But our whole country is just overstimulated. We have phones always on us. We have schedules completely filled to the brim. We have noise everywhere. And I even find with myself, like, I rarely have a quiet moment. And that's not because of my kids. Like, I mean, they're very noisy, but like, even when I get in the shower, I put something on my phone. Even when like I'm going to the bathroom, I have my phone with me. Like, we fill our time. I've been trying to do this month of May to do like 3.1 miles every day of walking. So a 5K every day in May, because it was started at our gym. It was like a challenge started. I have told myself that when I go on these walks by myself sometimes, not often, but like if I do some of the walk by myself, I'm like, I can't put stuff on my phone every time. Like I can't be listening to music or a book or a podcast, or like I just need to be quiet and listen to the wind and the nature noises. It's just, it's wild. And something else that I looked up about, our fast paced life was like, what does chronic stress lead to? Because so many Americans, half basically of Americans are reporting feeling daily stress. Chronic stress is linked to increased risks of heart disease, high blood pressure, weakened immune system, digestive problems, poor sleep, cognitive decline. I mean, just like all these things. So I feel like that's a part of it. That's a part of this foghorn pull, something in my soul that's calling out. If you know that reference, by the way, you need to put a comment or send me a text message because I really want to know. Where are my millennial people at who watched Friends? But yeah, so it's this fast paced life, I feel like is part of it. But I also think there is just this disconnection to how things are made and where they come from now. Like we go to grocery stores to get our foods instead of local vendors. You know what I mean? We rely on grocery stores. For instance, like even now, I've started like a friend of mine, she has chickens. And so I get eggs from her. And I feel like we've started to shift to trusting corporations more than we trust our just like local people. Now, I got eggs one time from somebody that I didn't know, but a friend knew. And she usually got eggs from them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm out of eggs. I need eggs. And so she picked up a dozen eggs from them while she got hers. And I found myself thinking, I don't know anything about these people. What are they feeding their chickens? What are they doing this? And I'm like, you know what? I got to stop right here because I don't know what corporations are feeding their chickens. In fact, I know that I've been to things like been to different farms and whatnot that, produce like milk and they raise pigs too. And I've seen what they feed them and I don't want a part of that, And it's like we've shifted to trusting corporations rather than like local people. And so many people, if a grocery store closed down, like in COVID when we weren't allowed to go or whatever, they wouldn't know where to get their food from, including me. To be like, okay, well, where do I get the bread? Where do I get eggs? Where do I get meat? Like, you don't have like that local connection to where things come from. So many kids nowadays don't even know what fruits and vegetables look like, or like if they come from a tree or a bush or plant, um, because they just get them from the grocery and they don't know what a plant looks like that, like, oh, these leaves, this is a potato plant or, like that kind of stuff. They don't know where that looks like. There's a disconnect now. There's also, as it relates to food, I think part of what's pulled me toward these grainy ways is there are like 1,000 ingredients in things at the grocery store when we could literally make them at home for way less money and way less ingredients. And they'd be way healthier. Even if it's a cookie, we're still just making it with 7 ingredients or whatever, rather than 15, and 5 of them being chemicals or things that we can't reproduce at home. And then I think a little part of it too, so like the disconnect, from how things are made and where they come from is a part of it, the shift towards granny ways. But I think also it's just motherhood, shifting things. One of the weeks I'll talk about like there's this strong shift that I've been feeling about what I'm going to leave behind for my family and my children, and leaving behind things that are of quality, because I feel like so much is nowadays is made so quickly and so cheaply that it's not stuff you can pass down. And so I have shifted in my ways in that aspect too, of thinking, what would I want to leave for my kids? And not just stuff, but like legacy. So this like granny ways shift, I don't think it's a regression. I don't think it's like a going back to the old days. Like it is going back to the old days, but I don't think it's a regression. I think it's more of a reconnection to ourselves to the world around us, the people around us. I think that there are things that we have left behind that we consider granny ways that we really need to bring back. And some of that is like skills. We need to remember that we're capable people and we can learn. We are capable, if our store doesn't have bread or eggs, we're capable people to figure out, how do we make bread? How do we find somebody that has chickens? Where can we connect, make connections in the community so that we can do that? We can have stuff when our restaurants are closed. We can have stuff when grocery stores are shut down or we don't have access or they just don't have what we need. I think also a part of it is presence, like being present with our family, being present with our neighbors, being present with our kids, and reconnecting to the family unit where we are not necessarily distracted by our phones and by the stuff that's around us. And we're reconnecting and doing things like family dinners with our extended family. We're doing things like living near our family. And, I haven't thought this all the way through. That just kind of came to my mind the other day. I almost think that it's a good thing for our kids to live with us until they get married. Now I might change my mind, but here's why I was thinking that. Because we're so into pushing our kids out of the nest, but then by the time they get married, they don't remember how to live with anybody because they've been living on their own. And so they're not good roommates. They have no money because they've been spending all of their money on rent towards something that's not being saved. They are disconnected. Where, again, this is all just off the top of my head, so don't hold me to this. But it seems to me like it would be smart to make them pay you rent and you set that aside for them and that be their wedding present or something. Help them learn and remember to learn how to grow and live with somebody and take care of their house. And you know what I mean? I don't know. That's a very sidetrack kind of a situation, but that's what I've been thinking through lately. I also think that, again, it's not a regression, it's a reconnection to things like home centered living. Like, this is where we live. We have what we need here because we've got a garden out back. We have what we need here because we have family around us. We have what we need here because we have our education here. We have what we need here because we've got connections in our neighborhood, or, the first thing we go to is a person rather than Chat GPT. I think that there is this tension, though, because we obviously still live in a modern world. I'm not saying to get rid of your electricity and to get rid of your cars and to stop using Amazon. Literally, I have this picture the other day. Our whole porch was full of Amazon boxes because we were hosting a baby shower and I had ordered a couple things, but then my mom ordered some stuff and had it shipped here. So I'm certainly not saying get rid of Amazon. And I'm also not saying we're going to churn butter all day. We have things that make it much easier to make butter. I am saying, that there's a balance. We're not going to never go out to eat or never use Amazon. I'm still going to use DoorDash, but there is a balance to finding little ways to reconnect and finding little ways to slow down, make some food at home instead of eating out, learn new skills that have purpose and self-sufficiency, like sewing and gardening and baking and canning, and pass those things on to your kids. Learn those things so that we can keep it alive. So your kids are self-sufficient in more ways than just they can get dressed in the morning, in more ways than they can just ask Alexa, what is the weather like? They can actually go outside and look. There's a tension here between, we live in a modern world, but there's still this pull to a slower life. And again, I don't think I'm the only one that feels that pull. So I want to talk about it. And I want you to come on this journey with me. And I want to hear your thoughts on whether you feel this same pull too towards the granny ways. And maybe, just maybe, this isn't about going backwards. This is about taking the best parts forward with us. So I'm excited for you to join me on this journey. If you're excited too, make sure you leave me a comment, a rating, review. Make sure you're following along on social media and on YouTube. and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And make sure you're signed up for my free weekly email newsletter. And I will see you next week for the Granny Ways series.